What's up, AMC people? How are we doing? Ape community, what is up? Man, my sleeping schedule has been so screwed up. I'm literally going on that whole Elon Musk weird sleeping schedule. Panulo, good on you too, brother. How are you doing? Didn't we talk about this? I remember the first time we talked about it was a Friday. Um, if you scroll back to the Friday video, you would have seen. Remember when I was talking about the levels, that video about the numbers that you know those are certain stocks needed to break. And remember when I was saying that GME, they're screwed all over the place. AMC needed to break over 1550. I wanted it to be 1650, but 1550. That is going to Ham. This is part of what we're going to talk about. So yeah, and then yesterday I talked about them having to you know put in all those calls that went into the money from last week. Otherwise, this whole system was going to be completely screwed up. And as you can see today, there's a rise. And here's the thing: Ham walked in and beat the whole system with the comment. And that's what I was coming to come out to tell you guys. I'm not telling you guys out that it's going to be dropped. I'm going to be telling you trying to get people from Mullen to jump. Well, Ham, it's not that they're trying to get people from Mullen, like this play, and that could be correct, Ham. But here's the thing: with AMC, GameStop, specifically those two plays, there's no need for anybody to jump from anywhere to them in order for them to go, because they're completely oversold on like multiple floats over. Now, here's the thing: I did say in my videos in the past that when you look out for the squeeze, the way you're going to look for it is you want to make sure that it's not like a controlled levels of sellout. It's like when I'm seeing this, looking at the chart right now on my laptop, I need to start doing this whole screen sharing thing so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. But looking at the chart, if you open up your charts on your, whether on your phone or your computer, you can see that everything that has been buy, then you will see a bunch of like a one big red candle to take away all that. So like a huge sell-off transaction. So what is that telling me is that this whole thing is being controlled so far. All these levels are being controlled, which goes back to my old videos that I was telling you that when you want to know, when you want to know if this is the squeeze or not, you want to at least see at least two straight sessions for me. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, guys. Neither that I give financial advice, but you want to see this. Like I either want to see one session where it breaks 80, 90%, 100%, which is one big thing, and it's not impossible for AMC. I've seen it do 300% before, with ease. But you want to see either one big session with an unbelievable big move up, or you want to see two sessions straight, back to back, 2 straight days, where it's similar to this, where it's like 20-30% move twice twice back to back in straight sessions, which shows me that this is not a controlled buy-in and sell-off. No, this is nothing but actual covering. And it should not matter to you much if, for example, if AMC was to move up 60% from where it started off at when I was telling you about those videos, at it was at around the upper $14. If it moved up 30% one day and another 30% the second day, which is equivalent to 60%, you're talking about, $5-6 a move up. So it's not too much on the average up part. So like you can still buy in with confidence, but at that point, that's what you're buying in. You're buying in with confidence that you're buying in at the right time for a run up. You see what I'm saying? I'm just giving you guys like my experience onto this. But if you see just one session like this, this is most of the times, this is a bait to bait people to jump in and buy a lot of options, or buy in at that point. And then when they see it go down, similar to what Ham was saying, then you're going to be like, oh, you know what, this stock is never going to squeeze, and they just want you to basically have a letdown. Now, can they continue this forever? No, but those are my triggers that I utilize to see if this is a squeeze or if it's not. Let's see. Ham said, then they pull the rug. Yeah, I mean, if it is going to be in that situation, I mean, if it is going to be that kind of setup, you'll see it today, maximum by tomorrow, guys. So if the after hours, if it doesn't do a crazy rip, like a 30, 40, 50% rip, then best believe that by tomorrow, you're going to have a completely different setup. You're going to have a setup where it's going to start either consolidating or falling down. If I, like I told you before, guys, if I don't see 2 straight sessions, at least one session where it's monstrous rise on those particular stocks, then that's not convincing enough that this is the time for a run up. If I see 2 straight sessions, at least not one, but at least 2 straight sessions where it does move up straight, like similar to like today, 20-30% up, 2 straight sessions, that means there is covering happening, and that is what will obviously get my attention and give me the conviction that I need enough to go ahead and jump in, this time FOMO style, because there's no way that they can contain that cover up, because they're going to be too busy with the other guys covering up as well. Other people are going to start covering in. Guys, please like the video so we can push it out to more and more people. Now, another thing I've been telling you for the longest time is most YouTubers have been telling you that this will squeeze first, and then we're going to have some money and we're going to jump into another stock and all that shenanigans. I don't know if there's others. Again, I don't watch YouTubers, but I've been, according, to what I believe, is I'm the only one telling you guys that when the squeeze happens, it's going to be all the heavily shorted stocks happening, because when somebody gets margin called, doesn't matter on what play, their whole portfolio is at stake. So you guys have to remember this. Many YouTubers don't have the experience for that, so they don't tell you this. But when a short seller, or anyone, look, even us, you retail, if you see them, if you get a message that you're been margined, they're going to liquidate your positions. It's not going to be only this one or that one or this one or that one. It doesn't matter what you get margined on. You are going to get liquidated on your whole portfolio is at stake. So therefore, what you're going to see is naturally all the stocks that are heavily shorted, or whatever stock they shorted in that particular portfolio, whoever it is that's getting margined, they will do a lot of covering on those positions. So you're going to see something similar to this. Why am I so bullish on what is happening with all this market, at least for now? Is because it's not just 1 or 2 stocks that are moving up, like similar to bbby, like Bed Bath & Beyond. Remember a few months ago when they did the buyback shares thing? It was the only company, the only stock that squoze at that time. And since that's the case that happened, and even AMC with June, it was one of the only ones that actually was going up. GME was along with it because those two are in the same algorithms, but the rest was idle. So therefore, that was telling me that, hey, guess what? This is something that is controlled. Some people are playing with calls, obviously institutional. And that's why they, you see that only 1 or 2 stocks are squeezing up. So the idea, I don't know where YouTubers got this idea from, where, okay, we're going to finish with this and we're going to take money and jump into that. I hate to break it to you. I hope I'm wrong, but that's not what's going to happen. Take yourself back to January of 2021, guys. and look at when that squeeze happened. Was it just GME? I mean, GME went the highest as far as to the upper 400s, but the rest, they all squoze. Like BlackBerry went to the 20s. Sundial went high. Tilray squoze to the 67, I think, $67 range. And a lot of people are sleeping on that stock because the value that it's at right now is beyond imaginable. Being the fact that it's the largest marijuana distributor in the world after purchasing Afaria or merging with Afaria and having them under their ticker symbol, it's beyond imagination. All it takes is for the government to approve, federally approve marijuana, which is inevitable. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen sooner than later, guys, because the government needs money. You know what I'm saying? The government will also need money after all this squeeze. What do you think they will look to do? They will look to legalize marijuana so they can tax it. Because as we see right now, there's nothing on it. They can't tax it. They can't touch it. And that's why they want in on that action, because when they start taxing it, when they approve it, then they can start federally taxing it. And that's billions of dollars that they'll start making. So you seen koss. I mean, look at koss today. I've been telling people, like, everybody's sleeping on koss, sleeping on koss. Look at koss today. And that's nothing compared to where it's going. Let me stop for a second, take a hookah breath, and look at the messages and look at the comments. Okay, now we're whole again. Ham said, then they get people wanting to throw the furniture and kick the cap. IMPP, I'm holding 197 average, waiting on gas, going to the moon. There's a lot of truth to that, Ham. What's up, finest? Pub Loco, what up? Thank you, Ham. Vincent, ¿qué pasó, amigo? Now, I don't speak Spanish, but I've been to Miami so many times in my younger days and just of late as well. And I go to California a lot. So therefore, it's a beautiful language. It's the one language I want to learn. I keep saying that, but then, the stock market pops up and then I get too busy with that. Okay, young finest. I was talking to this guy, Reddit, and he made the case that DRS was only intended and most effective if GameStop was to enter the Valhalla prophecy, as in $1 trillion. Brr. You see, here's the thing. Hopefully, it's Reddit has been infiltrated, obviously, as if I don't know if you know that. So hopefully, it's someone that knows what they're talking about. Here's the thing for me. Once the squeeze takes off, it won't matter much whether DRS or some other, and I've been probably one of the only ones that saying this, because most people are saying don't go to payment for order flow apps, and that is true for the meantime. But eventually, when the squeeze happens, which is kind of like backriding the other people that are going to apps or been at apps or brokers that report straight to the lit exchange. Those people are basically carrying the movement, but when it's time to deal with it all, they're gonna have to pay for everything. They have to take care of all those positions, whether this is correct or like whether it's real or fake, synthetic or not. All of it has to be dealt with because they all fall under the umbrella of the DTCC. Now, everybody can have their opinion about the DTCC, but clearly they are the overall reservoir for all the shares and everything. And they play a big part into how the synthetics were created anyways. They're a huge part in that. And they make money out of it. That's why they probably were cool with it. So eventually when it comes time to pay up, by law, there are the insurance policy to everything, and by law, since they were also making money out of it, the least they can do is pay back. Let's see. That's if GameStop enters that Valhalla range. Okay, so explain to me. That's why he only DRS'd 5 of his shares just in case GameStop does enter Valhalla prophecy. Well, hopefully it does. Vincent say legalize it. They will have to. They are gonna legalize marijuana, guys. Whether you like it or not, whether you see it or not, there's a lot of money that the Federal Reserve and the government itself can make off of legalizing marijuana for tax purposes reasons, because they could tax that. Right now as we speak, there's no taxation on it. They can't tax it except of the medical marijuana part, and that's barely pulling in anything. That's why the guy on the corner is still thriving in these times, because there's nothing against him. But when they legalize it, you know I guarantee you, everyone that smokes, or recreational or not, there's no need for corner guys anymore. There will be. I mean, the good thing about it is you'll see much less crime in the future. People will not get screwed over by getting something from someone that you don't know the origins of. Uh, Everything will be straight from pharmaceutical, and the government makes a lot of money by taxing it, and we get to pay less tax in the future than what we're paying now. I mean, especially with the times that we're going in, the government has no way around. Like it's we'll see when time comes, guys. But yeah, that's the only thing that scares me from this run up, is the fact that it's very controlled. If you see on the charts and you just take a look, you don't need to look at the technical analysis of the EMAs, and you don't need to look at the golden crosses, and you don't need to look at none of that. I'm just saying, look at today's movement, and all you can see in candles, all you can see is some like green work, a lot of buy, and then you'll see like just one gigantic red sell order, like a gigantic sell order happen right against it. So obviously someone is trying to make sure that this stays contained within certain levels, but also give out the same effect of enticing people to jump in. You know, let's see. Koss is flying, and AMC is at 15%. See, I want that. Like, I want to see the after hours so importantly today, because it's gonna tell a lot. Take it from me, like it's gonna tell you a lot today. Seeing like a 1% or a 2%, that's not gonna cut it. I'm looking for a huge move in the after hours to get a little more validation on what's gonna happen. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, and the completion of Young Finest, and that DRS was never intended to replace brokers, but to act as a what-if scenario insurance in case GameStop does hit the 1 trillion. Um, er, because most of the selling will be at the 50 to 150K. That's even more than 1 trillion. What is that like? Like a number I can't even read. 100? No, 1,000 trillion. Um, well, I mean, even if that was to check, like let's say that was to be true, I would feel a whole lot more comfortable being with a DTCC protected or insured broker than anything else. And that's because when this thing happens, like in that when you're talking about 50,000 to 150,000 a share, guys, you best believe that, one, it is going to be not something that is just sitting there waiting. It's going to be a sporadic kind of like surges that happen. That's the way I see it. But if it goes to the 50 to 150,000, take it from me, that does not that means that the original price at that point will be somewhere hovering around the 20 to 30K a share. It's not going to be like in the hundreds and suddenly sporadically fly up to the 150,000 or 50,000 a share. Whoever is pushing out, whichever YouTuber or Redditor is pushing out those kind of theories out there, is only trying to get you scared, you know? Because again, there's just common sense. The number is just not gonna fly that far from the hundreds to the 50,000 range, just like that. You know, if that's the case, you will see it in today's or in any other day's squeeze where it just can sporadically go up from, you know, $15 to $1,000 or $20,000, and you know that's just not it. So what I'm trying to get to you is, if that was to happen, this theory, Valhalla, and we're all gonna go there. Uh, well, if you believe in that, then obviously you're gonna see the numbers being very close to that 50 to 150,000 before it sporadically charges up to that range. As you can see, like right now I'm looking at AMC, literally, like, you know how it tries to get one gigantic green candle, and then right away it's smashed with a bigger red one next to it, so that way to make sure. So basically there's a lot of small sales, medium-sized sales, buy-ins. What counters them is one big gigantic big sale, which is what you see on the level 2 data. Let's see. How will the market look when GameStop MOAS? Will the other meme stocks also squeeze with it? And up to what do the other meme stocks stop squeezing with GME? Here's the thing. We were just talking about that, Young, and here's the thing. It was probably the only one saying that all the stocks will squeeze with it, and so the answer to one of the questions is yes, all of them I believe is going to squeeze. Now, to what extent? That comes back down to the liquidity one of the market, because I do believe we're going to run through market-wide range halts, because circuit breakers for the S&P 500 being broken, because I think the S&P 500 is going to tank. So that triggers a market-wide halt. And at 7%, I think the other one is at 14% or 10% or 15%. And then the third one, which is the most scary one for them, which is a whole day shutdown, is when it goes above 30 or 33%. So I do believe that when we get to those areas, you're going to have a lot of halts. And don't be afraid of the halts. I've mentioned this before, because the halts in a regular play, I can see why you would worry, because they're going to stack up a lot of sell orders and leave the buy orders on the side or any of that. But in the squeeze plays that we're dealing with, the halts are mainly going to be there so that they can ensure transferring money from point A to point B, so eventually it can get to point C, which is your wallet and my wallet. You see what I'm saying? So don't be afraid of halts. Like, I have no doubt that we will have a day long halt. We will have 2-3 days day halts, and we could possibly even have a week or 2 weeks days of, like, 2 weeks long of halts, because those suspensions will work as transfer. And you know how many trillions of dollars will have to be transferred to deal with this mess? That stuff doesn't just happen, and the brokers need a lot of money on site so they can fulfill your orders. So don't worry, mayhem is coming. Mayhem is coming, guys. What's your exit strategy with GameStop? With GameStop, it's the same thing as all the other stocks that I'm in as well. And what I will do is, personally, and I'm not advising anyone to do this. This is, again, everybody has their own strategies. But for me, I'm gonna look at the short covering and the overall volume. Those two things are going to be my best friends throughout the squeeze because it's going to tell me a lot. Now, I do know that most likely it will not be in the first day, because that's what the squeeze is about. You know, you squeeze, okay, you squeeze this part. Okay, now you got to go to the next level, next level until you get to the head, which is the ultimate prize. But when do I know when we reach the head? Is basically when the short covering I see is obviously continuing, and the volume is rising and rising and rising. And you know, if you have, like I said before, I think in yesterday's video, if you have like a 1 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion in volume in one day, and that's referring to AMC, not just GameStop, or even sundial, if you have those, then you have to keep your eye on that, because you don't want to get caught on the other end of, you know, selling on the way back down. I remember in the beginning of this movement, there was many YouTubers pushing that theory. And that's the scariest theory to deal with, guys, because you don't know how fast the drop can be. And again, I'm the only one putting out this theory that there's a lot of institutes. So for you not to worry about, there's a lot of institutes that are looking to make their money not by dumping their position, guys. They're looking to make money by basically shorting them. And when will they short them? At the crazy all-time high levels. It's the easiest no-brainer, because when they short those, when they sell those shares short at the levels of 10,000 and 20,000 or 8,000 or whatever the case may be, it's obvious that at that point, it's going to be like, they will definitely have a lot of money to just counter in case it goes even higher, just so they don't get margined. But at that point, it's a no-brainer. What is there any logical reason that AMC or GameStop or Sundial or bbig or whoever else will stay, or tlry will stay at those levels for a long time, long period? No. So it's going to be a quick, possibly like 1 or 2, 3 week short worth of holding for them, and then, you know, dumping it for a lot of money, because they will make so much money on the all the way back down. So a lot of people are thinking that all these shares are purchased just so that they can dump them on the market. Yeah, there is truth to that, obviously, but there will be many hedge funds or many institutes that will be looking to dump their positions as short at the high levels, so that they can ensure making so much money without having to be in any, you know, like without having to worry about the levels that they're selling at, or not, or basically they capitalize on the once in a lifetime opportunity, because they definitely see it that way as well. It's not just us. By the way, guys, thank you so much for liking the video. It is pushing it out to more and more people. Welcome to the channel. Obviously, if you're in here, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. If you have more questions, please lay them at me, because we are at, what time is it? It is almost 4. Yep. Okay. Young, the realistic price prediction, I've also said many times on almost all my videos that for me, I don't have, that's why I said even yesterday in the video that I don't have a bracket. You know, I don't have brackets. I don't do that stuff. You know, people who say walk in with a plan so you can, okay, but that's not the way you approach a plan. Making a plan doesn't mean making a bracket. For me, my bracket is looking at the short covering and the volume, and that will tell me my brackets, whether it's $200 a share or whether it's $200,000 a share, you know, because you got to know your value of gold. Like we all can hold gold right now and be like, well, I love my piece of gold, and I want it to be worth $20,000 or $100,000, but is that what's going to be is that going to be the value of it on the market? That's the real question, because you need someone to buy it for that much in order for it to be worth that much. I can put a price tag on whatever I want on my hookah for $1 million. Okay, no one's gonna say nothing because it's my property, it's my hookah. But is there anyone that's gonna buy it for $1 million? Who knows? I mean, if they do, then hey, then that's the value of it. But the only way I can find this is through shorts covering and the volume moving. So I don't have brackets because I want to see the true value of my shares, because you can't. This is why I am like so against brackets, guys. You can have your own bracket, but how do you know, or how can you control? This is a true question. How can you control the sentiment and the holding pattern for all other traders? Any of us can come out here and say, to the moon, I'm not selling until $5 billion, whatever. But is that really the action they're going to take? Because for me, the only way I could find that out is through the numbers and through the data. So I can sit there and dream about 20,000 a share as much as I want. And guess what? If everybody caves at the first, couple few $100s, and it barely reaches 1,000, then guess what? I'm not going to be the one who's holding the biggest bag of all time, possibly, on these stocks, waiting for my bracket to be met, and it doesn't meet it. You know what I'm saying? And you and I can't control that. It's a whole collective community thing. So you can't gauge what people are going through. There is someone else out there, finest, that is most likely saying that, hey, I can't do this anymore. I've done this for a whole year. There's no way I can do June again, where it just went to 70 and it dumped back down. There's people that are saying that I can't, that I need money. I've been over leveraged for a while now. All those people you got to keep an eye on. Now, if, like I said, if the most majority of the people are holding, then I'm going to see that in the numbers, in the shorts covering. When the shorts cover, you can see after that, in the volume, if people are really selling too much or not. Because once the short interest or the shorts are fully covered, we're going to be at a crazy price. Now, that's one thing. Now, once they still have to buy out our shares because they need to make the float back to normal again. Now, at that point, you're going to start seeing crazy volume numbers. If the volume is not too high, then of course I'm holding longer and longer, because I can feel and I can believe that it has a lot of room to run still. People are holding, they're not selling their shares. But if people start selling left and right, and you see that on the volume, like it's 3, 4, 5 billion volume, then yeah, no, I'm gonna adjust, and I'm gonna act accordingly. So that's what I mean by brackets. When people talk about bracketology, it amazes me, because it creates topics for people to talk about, like YouTubers. And I remember Lou was getting so much heat because he has given out his brackets and whatnot. And the funny thing is, it's like a pointless conversation. That's how I see it for them, because people are getting mad at him for wanting to sell at 300 or 800. And people followed him from before when he said 10,000 to 20,000. So it's so crazy. He's creating content, topics to argue and talk about, when they're pointless. Because when it comes to that day, which is Judgment Day, everything has to adjust. I mean, let's say everybody really sold at the level of 300. Okay, let's just hypothetically speak that. You can't control them. What are you going to do? Are you still going to hold on for let's say your bracket is 20,000 a share? You're going to still hold on to that? So you're going to have a plan. So for me, I won't sell any share until I see the shorts cover. And after the shorts cover, there's still a second part that they have to attend. And that second part is buying back all our shares. So after the shorts have covered, I have a plan where, personally for me, I will put a small amount of percentage where I will put on the market, because I want to see like is the market buying back and what is going on with it. And then after that, I'm going to hold, looking at the volume, at the moving in, either the selling and the buying volume for that every day. And then I'm going to go ahead and start seeing where if it's going to be crazy, if it's going to be crazy volume going, moving back and forth. Yeah, I'm gonna start considering. So I'm a trader, guys. I'm not just a I just want to hold, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No, that's not me. That's not how I was able to get to what I get and do what I do. So Hopefully that it was a long explanation to it, but hopefully that can answer that, because that is a very important question in this movement, guys. Is everybody gets caught up in different brackets, and then you start getting confused, and you don't know anymore what it is that you really want to follow. Like, what is it? Am I evaluating this correctly or not? Like, the answer is you will never evaluate this correctly. Whoever, no matter who you are out there, you can't gauge this because this have never happened before. No one knows how many synthetics are out there. No one knows how many even true shorts are out there. Um, no one knows the sentiment and when people will start selling. So all these variables, there, how could you make a complete bracket when all those variables are missing? It's amazing to me. But again, maybe if just for the sake of speaking and talking, just to have fun with a conversation, to make a conversation, maybe that's what the case might be. But I don't see it that way, guys. That's just me. Um, I hear a lot of talks about after hours rise. Do you think the big run will be after hours? Yes, I do. I think that the big runs will be either in the after hour or in the um, pre-market. Um, Most likely in the after hours, because the pre-market will everybody will be up and ready, and as soon as it opens at 10, they'll be ready to sell. So most likely, yes, after market, because they can't do much control on it. However, they did allow after hours trading for institutes, so even that might change. It might be just throughout the day at some point, and then it might just spike up crazy, like a good 20-30% at one out of nowhere, and then it will cause a halt right away. It will trigger a halt, and then it might halt us right into the aftermarket of that day, and then that's when the shenanigans pick up again. The Simpsons predicted GME to a trillion, season 32, episode 18. I mean, hey, I would be the happiest um, Simpson in the world. We'll put it that way, if that is the case. But we will see. They predicted a lot of things correctly. That is true about them. Um, let's see. Is the Great Reset or the end of the world connected to the Moas? I wouldn't say the end of the world. I would say the Great Reset for sure. I mean, this phenomena, guys, happens every 12 to 15 years normally. Of obviously the system and these people who was in charge of doing this do this constantly. And then last time it happened was in the 2008 to it extended to the 2012 almost range. And the government bailed them out through us paying the taxes for it. I mean, it was mind-boggling. So I remember it started like throughout the end of the Bush era, and then in the beginning of the Obama era. Those days were very, very, very crazy, and I think that this is 20 times worse than that. Um, but again, hey, this is why wars are created. Wars bring in a lot of money. Legalizations to different industries like marijuana, that brings in a lot of money. Um, so people will rebound from it. Life will rebound from this. It's just unfortunately at the cost of so many. Um, yeah, and GameStop will be one of the top dogs in the metaverse. Uh, I uh, I want to see what the metaverse will be like. So far, I have seen a lot of fog and smoke. Really, I'm not buying into that uh, crap. But I'm waiting for one big change, like Facebook, for example, coming out with something that's revolutionary for that system, so that it can be just more than just you putting in some goggles and now you're watching something revolutionary. I don't know. You remember watching some movies where they dial something on their wrist and then suddenly a screen pops up or whatever? Like something of that nature, revolutionary, in order for me to buy in the whole metaverse shenanigans. So the market has officially been closed. um, right now. And now we're looking at, okay, AMC 1%. I'm looking at some point for it to rip beyond imagination in order to get some, validation that we are in that time. Good job on sundial going up 10%. I'm glad for that movement. Um, where did you close? bbig. bbig closed at 307. Not bad, not the greatest, but it's good enough. Let's see. GME ended up closing 123.15, which is great and expected. I can't wait for it to move up even higher and higher. Let's see. Radwan. Oh, wow. We got people from London. Shout out from Cincinnati, Ohio, from the US. But welcome, my London people. Yeah, as you guys can see, have you seen today? This is, even if this is or it's not, let's say the trigger or the beginning of the MOAS, you see that it's not just one or two stocks that are moving. So the idea from the beginning, when I caught some heat in my early days on this, when I was telling people that, if you're really high on or big on a certain stock, your chance of being in it is being in it at the same time of the squeeze, because you don't know afterwards how the market is going to be. I mean, a lot of people are talking about they're going to leave completely. The market is going to be crashed left and right here and there afterwards, except all the positions that are short, because when they get covered, they basically will squeeze, and then it will catch back down and fall back down to catch up with the rest of the market. So we will have our window, and it's not going to be 5 minutes or 1 day or 2 days. It's going to be more than that. But if you were high on a stock, you wanted to be in it at the same time, then rather than waiting for it to drop back, or rather than believing in the idea that, oh, it's going to be one stock at a time. Do you know how big of a nightmare, guys, to this it is to the hedge funds and to the whole system, whether the feds, the DTCC, the president, the whole globe? Do you know how terrible and how much of a nightmare it is if that was to be true, where one stock squeezes and then the rest are all on standby? Do you know how, like, it's so not in their best interest to let that case be the case, because there's no way they'll be able to handle all of them that way, because that way any of us, anybody without even common sense would just make millions and millions of dollars, if that's the setup or that's what ends up happening. Because you got, for example, everybody who's jumping in AMC and GameStop, let's say those two squeeze out first, and just to believe in that idea, and then people make whether hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars or whatever the case may be in those two stocks. Now everybody's looking at a sundial that is 58 cents or 50 cents, and bbig that is at $3, and Bed Bath and Beyond that's at 20 something dollars, and koss that is still completely unbelievably very low with such a short short flow. I'm sorry, not short flow, shares float. And then all those other stocks that are there, ocgn, clove, SPR, SPCE, not SPRT. I was thinking of SPRT. Oh my God, long live SPRT. All those, you get my point. tlry, BlackBerry, all these stocks. If we're gonna wait for each one to squeeze and all just jump in, who's gonna pay for all that? Let's leave some common sense to this question, guys. So yes, I wholeheartedly believe that when this squeeze, the MOAS happens, it's gonna be called the MOAS because it's gonna be the mother of all short squeezes, which is all those stocks squeezing at the same time with unbelievable numbers on the menu. Okay, let's see. Is the possibility of cyber attack during MOAS possible, since there have been mentioned in the media about potential cyber threats? towards the global financial system. I definitely think so. You know, when crypto was ripping, going back, I mentioned this yesterday in a video, there was a lot of that happened. Um, and you know, while it's insured, you shouldn't like you don't have much to worry about, um, because again, you're insured. Now, here's where you would worry is if you transfer the stuff. Let's say you got money. Let's say you got paid. Let's say you made $5 million, and you transfer that money from your broker, because again there are limits. There's each broker has a different, you know, FDIC insurance policy and what they also cover in as far as liquid cash and as far as stock value, all that stuff. But your main problem will be when you're transferring it from there or wiring it from there, because it's a huge amount, to banks, to your banks. So the biggest issue that I've seen is most people who are not used to big lump sums of money, in of that range, they don't know. They have not even thought about the part of how to handle that when that comes. Um, so I've heard people that said, "Oh, my account, I'll transfer it." No, you need to call your bank and speak and see what they have. Like for example, I have Chase, just as a hypothetical example. You know, I contact them and then they say they have a special division just for that. You know, where special big time billionaires and you know huge very very rich individuals are in that party, kind of like a country club for them in there, and that division will take care of all that stuff, and their limits obviously is something different, and take it from me. um, Cybersecurity and everything will happen all over the place except the place where the wealthiest have their cheddar. So work around those lanes. Look for those. If you can't work on that around that, then create like 11 or 12 bank accounts so that you can meet the 150 or 250,000 FDIC insured policy from each bank. And that way you'll have like 12 cards on you. So there's more than one thing to do. You just have to put that thought in that situation and think about it. For me, I just look forward. I look to where majority of the wealthy individuals are in, where their honey is, where there's that pot, and I would like to put my honey there too, because you know those are the last people anyone is going to be able to fuck with. Or, ooh, sorry for my French, guys. Um, I try to make it as filtered as possible, guys. I'm sorry. So if there's any virgin ears, I wholly wholeheartedly apologize. So yeah, so like I look to put my and secure my honey in the place where no one dares to go and try to take from, because at the end of the day, I think that even, and this is something I personally think might not be true, but cyber attacks I think are personally set up from somehow these hedge funds and these market makers and these individual powerful individual and very influential individuals, because they seem, I mean, if someone hacks something once, why can't they just hack it on a regular? You see what I'm saying? And they're never getting caught, so why not just hack it on the regular and make more money? Why only take 10 million? Why only 5 million? Why only 150 million? I think that it's an organized crime. That's personally what I'm saying. And in that case, they will never look to, when was the last time you heard them talk about, oh, somebody hacked Bill Gates' account and they took $2 billion, or 500 million, or Warren Buffett's account and took 500 million, or Bezos' account and they took 500 million. Um, Surprisingly, the ones with the most amount of wealth, which should be the main target, are the ones that are not targeted. Just a thought for food. Will 401k survive the MOAS? I doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised if, because of the amount. Sorry, I'm changing the charcoals on my hookah, so that's why I'm looking away. Um, so yeah, so if they do, I wouldn't be surprised, because um, you have been paying. We all have been buying and buying and buying, and somebody's been taking the money and putting it God knows where on the side, to make sure that they have enough money, to like, you know, all that paid money that we paid for synthetics, they were able to, that money went somewhere. Obviously somebody took it. But worst comes to worst, this is why there's something, and I'm as unfortunate as that to say, this is why they have something called wars. You know, when you go into a war, you know, there's a lot of spoils, especially if you know, I mean, especially if you know you're going to be the winner of that and collect spoils. That could bring in, that could be the difference maker of the end for someone and the continuation for someone else. And like I said, as unfortunate as that is, and as unfortunate as that sounds, that's the case in this situation, you know, and in life. Young, is Fidelity a good broker to be in? I have some stuff in Fidelity. Like I told you, I think that every DTCC insured broker at that point will have to, you know, like will eventually have to answer, because if the broker itself defaults or can't pay, they're they're sponsored by the DTCC, so they would have to deal with it. Anyone that's telling you guys stuff about, oh, this guy will not have money to pay you and whatnot, they don't, they're not necessarily looking, it's not that they don't know much, it's that they're not necessarily looking at the makeup in the background. You know, these guys are like, for example, Webull is powered by Apex. It's not just the broker for Webull, it has a few other ones too. You want to tell me that everyone with Webull, who had many shares, who did not switch to DRS or whatever, computer share, or, you know, TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or Charles Schwab, you want to tell me there's going to tell them we don't have money? That does not work that way. That's why you will have halts. That's why the halts will transfer money, if needed be, from the DTCC to these brokers' accounts so that that can be dealt with. You might not even know about it or see it or deal with it, but that's the case that's going to happen. Otherwise, it's a no-brainer of a win case in court. So if this even goes to court, it's a no-brainer how bad they're going to lose that, because there can never be an answer where we didn't have money. It's kind of like stealing some, going robbing a bank, and when you get caught, you say, I don't have the money. Well, okay, you're going to do the time regardless, but if you submit the cash, then we will lessen the severance of this situation. And guess what that person is going to say? Well, how much can I get away with? No time? Well, if you bring in, depending on how much that money was, if you bring all that money in, then we'll think about it. And they might do it, because that's just how things work. Dinette, how are you doing? Welcome to the chat. Dinette, I liked your video. Good video that you made. Look at you now. You're becoming an influencer. GME's up 30% intraday. No wonder everyone is telling you to sell on Monday. Do you see, Dinette? Did you see how we were talking about this last Friday? When it was saying, you know, remember when I was giving the numbers of what the stocks need to close at, each one? I had bbig, sundial. I even still have the list right here when I wrote down the numbers that it needed to close at. I wrote it in the pencil too. You know, I remember saying bbig, they couldn't let it drop below 240, and they needed it to be closing above 256. And they couldn't let it go past 256, which they were successful at. And sundial, you know, there was no put, because obviously it's already very low, but they couldn't let it break over 56 cents, and that's exactly what happened as well. They succeeded there. GME, I remember saying that they were screwed all over the options chain, and you guys can scroll back to that Friday video that I uploaded just to verify what I said. And I said they couldn't for sure let it break the 93.45 level as of last Friday, not now. I know we broke that with ease, but they were already screwed on so many different strike prices, so that all that you see that is covering today. And then AMC, last but not least, I said that they couldn't let it break under the 14.95. And they couldn't let it go above 1560, and we closed above 1560. It was 1580 that we closed that on Friday. I also did say that I wanted us to close above 1650 because that was gonna be the highest strike prices with calls on it. But we didn't get that, but we got the second most, which was the 1560 at least frame, and we did. So yesterday we got on the live and I said that tomorrow you're going to look forward to all this being on the market. So this was predicted yesterday. If you were in the chat yesterday, in the live chat, you would have seen that this was going to happen, or at least expected this to happen. And remember adding that if that does not happen, then the whole market is screwed. That's what I literally said yesterday in the video. Do you remember all that, Danette? Yeah, I remember. Like I said, the number for GME was to for them to at least survive was not to not let it break 93.45, and they were successful with that. But I also did say that they were screwed all over the bracket because there was many other options, strike options that went in the money regardless. Like there was nothing that they were able gonna there was nothing that they were gonna be able to do to change that prophecy. So go back and check Friday's video, guys, just for fun, for just for fun purposes, Red One, hi bro. Quick question: no one got done for Enron and the 2008 crisis. What is it different this time around? Okay. Now, since those two situations, the Enron and the 2008 crisis, those things that happened, you got like the difference here in this one is that there's a lot more that's involved with it. Like back then, there was no retail involved in that, and the 2008 was more of a housing bubble that basically caused obviously the biggest fall at that time, and they were selling like debts of other, like, if someone bought a debt, which is, let's say, like a mortgage, then they will go ahead and repackage it and resell it to somebody else, and then that person repackaged it and sold it to someone else, and it kept going that way, and then it eventually started going global. I mentioned a lot in my previous videos about debts being sold overseas, and ultimately that brought down that 2008. Now in this case, it's similar, just with stocks, but on top of that, you have a great like problem happening also with the housing on the side. You have student loans and all that drama going on the side. So you have basically the difference. Those ones, if I were to compare this one to the other ones were like a massive bomb. This one is a nuclear. That's why they call it the MOAS. It's a nuclear bomb. So it's similar things, just with much more detonation. What's up, Lion? Welcome back, brother. And welcome, Future Whale. How you doing, brother? Um, I've seen what we got for AMC. Well, as you can see, we're gonna wait for tomorrow because so far in the after hours, I haven't seen anything crazy, and I've been looking for that. I've been looking in the videos, guys. Remember we've been making that I look for a huge one day that's like 80 to 100% move up, or I look for two straight consecutive days, or at least one day in between moves where it's 30, 40% or higher on those days. That tells me that there's more. Now this is covering, not propping up this system so that people can jump in. So if this today, what happened today, if this is it, tomorrow, if we don't see a, you know, this is me with some cash on the side, okay? And tomorrow I don't see another 30, if I don't see a 30 or 40% run up, then I'm going to continue holding on to my cash. I'm not going to jump in. In fact, I might open up, and this is, again, this is the mindset of a trader, guys. I might open up some put positions on most of these plays because this is not a natural run. This is not a natural squeeze. This will indicate to me that this is nothing but a prop up to the market so that they can get in and get a lot of people enticed to jump in with a lot of option calls, buy in whatever they have money on the side, dump it in at these prices, and then only wait so that they can pull the rug by Friday so that they can make sure that none of this happens, and make a lot of money and make a lot of people upset. So that's the indications that I look at, or the indicators that I look at for me, that are very, 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 for me personally, my opinion, since I'm not a financial advisor, those are my safe indicators to make sure I know which one I'm in, whether in this one, is this the real run up or is this a prop up? And I need to, make myself very worried. So that's basically with that line. Radwan said, was the shisha setup? It's a double apple. I go back and forth between double apple and then citrus mint. Great flavors. I'm not promoting smoking, guys, so don't go and smoke. Not that I'm promoting advice on financial situations, but I do have common sense advisory. Let's see. Um, Sandal is falling, well, almost falling. GME fall percent. AMC is around the same, hovering in the same area. As you see, so from now until 8 o'clock, we're going to be looking for some sort of gigantic move up. Um, because obviously, if there's a lot of buy-in, think of it like this. Why were we going up? There's buying in, right? If there's a lot of buying in throughout the market, that means there should be a lot of buying in. This is just common sense, guys. There should be a lot of buying in the aftermarket. If I don't see that, because the market makers and the brokers cannot manipulate this time frame as much as they want. So now I need to see moves, like volatile moves, some crazy movement. And it could happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen yet. That means it's not happening. I'm looking forward to it to happen anywhere between 6 o'clock to somewhere after that time zone to, about the 7 o'clock zone. If we don't see that and, it doesn't happen by 8, then that's going to get me worried, because tomorrow I'm going to stay idle. I'm going to keep all my cash on the side waiting, and I'm going to watch and see what happens tomorrow. Like if tomorrow, if it open the market in the pre-market is not having a crazy run up like this, if it doesn't happen, let's say in the aftermarket now, and it doesn't happen in the pre-market tomorrow, then I will be looking for the other strategy, which is, throwing in put positions, and then, or I'll probably, just to be safe, to more safe, I will probably play another straddle on this, like similar to what I did a week ago with GME. So I'll open that, and then, if it goes up, great. If it doesn't, even greater, because at that point, I would have even more to increase my positions in most of my beloved stocks. I don't only hold, guys, AMC and GME only. I have a monstrous position in bbig. I have a monstrous position in Sundial. If you know, you know. I have a big position in Bed Bath and Beyond. I have a huge position in koss. I'm really, really huge on that company, simply just because of the fact that I know that it's heavily shorted and it's very small float, very, very small float. So we're gonna see how that takes off. I was in Neo also before, a while ago, but I scalped Neo back and forth many times. I see a big run up for that company. They have really great things, but the only problem why I'm completely out of it is because we have a lot of issue with China, and any Chinese-based company, I'm kind of steering away from for now, and you can't just have it all in a way. So that's why I'm not being too greedy. So I'm leaving that one alone. If if the great United States of America have a problem with any nation, whatever stock that it has, then I'm gonna go ahead and not be in it as well, because I don't want to get caught on the wrong end of things. Danette, do you trade VXX? No, I don't. Right now, for me, Danette, and for everyone else, I've said this, I think, once before. I don't know which. I think it was probably in the Macedonians live stream. I said that this is the greatest time in stock market history for retail to make to have their chance to make wealth beyond imagination, and it's going to be on all these shorted, heavily shorted stocks. So right now I'm all thinking this kind of stuff, and afterwards I'm going to be thinking all about the yields and the treasuries and the bonds and all that kind of stuff, the uh, S&P stocks and stuff like that, index funds, things like that. Because when you have some, at that point, when you have a big capital, you obviously just don't want to be just nothing but a day trader every day. Although I'm going to be doing that regardless, because I have so much fun doing this. I enjoy doing this. It's not just the money making or the even the money losing at times that makes this fun. This is fun for me in general. So if this thing is for you, you're always going to find yourself, no matter how much money you make in this, you're going to always find yourself day trading and doing some plays. But obviously you will have a lot more capital then, so you can't just work day trading with all that capital. You're going to be placing them in very blue chip stocks, and if the market obviously breaks down and completely falls off the cliff of the earth, you're going to have Amazon, you're going to have Tesla, you're going to have crazy blue chip stocks, Apple. All these stocks are going to be at levels that makes you wonder, like, is is this a good investment? So all that is coming your way, guys. Definitely going to make a big position in those plays. I did it in 2020. I rode the system back up as it went up, because when everything dumped down, everything was at historical levels. It was just no brainer. I mean, I remember my first stock that I was so heavily about and into and talking so much about was Party City. And it was crazy. It was just crazy days, because I got in the bottom pennies, like it was in the end of March of 2020, literally right after the pandemic started, and when they did the shutdown. Literally, that's when I got into that. It was like anywhere between 8 to 12 cents or 14 cents when I got in. Yeah, I think it was 8 cents, and I rode that thing all the way up to the $4 range when it went up, and it went even way further than that. But for me, that was a good hold. I needed to get into make positions in other plays, so therefore I cashed out and did my thing. Ridwan said Teddy Zane said that during the squeeze, people should swing trade as the prices crash after the halts. What are the dangers of this? So the dangers is everything, because one, no one logically knows after the halt that it was either going to go down or go up, because everyone has already been used to these halts, these small time halts that happen on the 20% level and the 15% level and whatnot. At that time, who's to say that that particular halt is not as a halt so they can transfer in more money so they can handle all the buying back uh, as it continues to go up? So, uh, if majority of the people in these particular stocks have, and then the swing trading idea, like you swing trading in a squeeze play, that's the most dangerous that I've just heard, because again, you're going to be, for me, I'm looking at the shorts covering and the overall volume to know when I need to be getting out of this. And who's also to say that after these halts they will not also take away the button again, or buying back in? What if they just want to finish this nightmare, because it's so unbelievable the amount of shorts that they have put on these stocks, whether AMC or GameStop, and then if they let people buy back in, when will it end? You know, so like there is some truth to the fact that there could be some only sell orders, no buy-ins after that. So do you want to take that chance? That's up to you. I don't know, but that has all the danger in the world for it. The question is here's the main question to that, Ridwan. Will Teddy, is that their name? Yeah. Will that Teddy be with us or with you as you're doing that? Will they be doing this? And if it doesn't work according to what he's saying, what will you do? What is your backup plan to, in case Teddy is wrong? There is none, because if you sold, that's it. You know, if everything else that I just mentioned, any of those things happened, then Teddy just led you down to a dark alley, basically. Hopefully he's right. Who knows? That would be extremely greedy, Future Well said, and anybody like that doesn't need the money. Yeah, I mean, greed or not, at the end of the day, you have to have a plan to weigh out your risk. You know, like, is that something you're willing to do? Risk? Because if you sold, think of it like this. If you bought this, let's say you got in the AMC, we'll use AMC as an example. You bought AMC in at the level of $20 back in the, while it was in the 20s. Okay. And then let's say it's squeezing right now and we're at the $150 or $200 range. If you sold, whether the craziest thing is to sell all your shares, but let's say you sold half of your shares. Okay. I'm going to make this as realistic as possible of a possibility of it happening. You sold half of your shares at 150, and again, this is just hypothetical, guys. So you sold half of your shares at 150. To get back in, what do you suppose that you're going to get back in at $20? No. Even on that next nearest dip, it's not going to dip below the $80 or $90 level when it's at that range. You see what I'm saying? So swings, yes, big swings will be happening, but it's not going to be to the bottom levels. Now, when you buy in again at 80, you see what I'm saying? So like you're basically selling each stock for that from between the 20 to the 80s, like $60 profit, because you're buying right back in. And who's to say that it will not just dump at 150, like completely end at 150? You have to leave all your possibilities out there. Don't worry about like I say what I say. I don't care how people feel about it. I'm just trying to cover all my bases, because at the end of the day, no one's going to stand there to hold your hand or my hand when this thing goes sour, if this thing goes sour. So I got to keep all those options open, guys. You got to do the same thing and keep all your bases covered. So yes, it is very dangerous to sell and swing this play, because you just don't know at any given point what will happen. Will they stop the buy-in? They could easily do that. They could suspend it, take that stock away from the market and say, okay, the rest of the market can go on, but this is on the side, is suspended for a month or 2 weeks. And then in that time frame, they could say that, hey, we're willing to offer a buyout price, which is this much, and blah, 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 blah. If you've already sold before the suspension or the halt, you lose out on all that stuff. Again, these are all just possibilities. It's not necessarily what's going to happen, of course, but you got to think about all those things, the what if. And if any of those things happen, that swinging idea is completely out of the window. Now, I would not have a problem with you having a certain strategy. Here's the thing. This is the best way to put it. I would have a strategy, and if your strategy was to sell a certain amount when it reaches a certain number, and then take that amount to swing it on other plays that are also squeezing, and you're trying to catch in, or maybe catch in on GME or any other play, whatever the case may be, that might be a different situation, because again, that was a level that you already personally had in your plans to sell at no matter what. You see what I'm saying? And then it makes sense. But just to swing without a plan, like kind of say, hey, okay, it's at 150, I'm gonna sell, and now I'm gonna wait for it to go down to 80 so I can buy back in, because it's pointless to buy in back at 150. What's the point of selling at 150 and buying back at 150? Where's the profit there? Nothing. Then it opens back up after the halt and it goes up instead of going down. What are you gonna do? You're gonna FOMO buy back in at 200 or 300? you're going to end up with less shares than what you even started with. So you're going to eat away at your profits. So you got to think about all these possibilities, and have a firm, strategy onto how you're going to go about it when it goes down. Okay, let's see. Pabloco said, how are they going to deal with the options chain for the run? It will be insane amounts of money. You know what, Pabloco? That is the one question that until now, I don't think anyone can answer, because I myself have that question. I don't know how they're going to have enough money for it. Will they, like, what's his name? I think Lou answered this to some people and said that, he didn't answer the question. He just said that, that market maker controls time and space. That's it. So it wasn't an answer. He's basically telling you that you're gonna get screwed if you're playing options. That's basically his answer. What do I think of it? I think that they can't do such thing. Obviously, it's part of the market. It's been part of the market, so it will go on. How they're gonna cover it? Where they're gonna get the money for that? God knows. And this is why the only thing they have been doing was ruining a lot of people throughout this whole year and a half, ruining a lot of people option plays who FOMO in on options, so that they can put out a message that, hey, if you do this, you're going to get burnt. That is very possible. But as far as that, when the time comes, who knows when it comes? Hopefully, this is it. And they're on there and they're logged in. Yeah. The only thing I could see them like doing shady what is to do halts and stuff like that, and or not fill orders. When you try to make the sell order, is not to fill it. So that's, besides what I just said previously, that's the second part to it, and that's the only thing I see that they could do to it, which is pretty scary, because at the end of the day, when you go back in and you try to sell options, let's say you have options on it, the squeeze is on, and you press sell, but it's not selling. They could easily later on say that, hey, when everything finishes, like, oh, well, the price was, and the volatility was so high that when it was going up and you pressed your sell button, it was already down, because you're so back behind and you're not on nanoseconds, similar to the market maker and all that stuff. So that's the only explanation I see that there could be a problem. Other than that, which is everything. Other than that, I don't know where they're going to get the money to deal with that. I'm hearing people who want to sell their shares to get liquid, to dump on options during the run. Um, uh, Here's the thing. So options are, there is a way for options to like to kind of influence the price, whether on the move up or down. And here's the thing: when you sell the shares, like, people start forgetting about the basics, and that's why when they start these talks, it worries me. When these people start dumping shares to buy options, the people, the hedge funds or the institutes that need to do a lot of covering, they just got the share that they need to do the cover. Now, when you buy the option at that high level, do you know how much when it's running up? Again, I'll use the same example again. Imagine AMC at 100 or 150. Do you know how many shares you'll have to sell to buy one option? Like, I know this because I've been into that and I've dealt with that throughout run-ups and everything. I mean, GameStop, to get an option on GameStop that's in the money, or let's say a little bit out of the money, because in the run up you're expecting it that it's going to be flying higher than the in the money part. So let's say you're YOLOing and you're buying it out of the money. What if they do a suspension on AMC or GameStop for a week? And all those people are playing weekly. They sold their shares so that they can buy weekly options. They're not going to buy 2, 3, 4 weeks out in advance, or 2, 3 months down the line, because the price, like, tag on that will be unbelievable, because the volatility is so high because of the move up, that it will all be priced into that option, and it's going to be so insanely expensive. Like, just wait till you see it and you're going to be like, your jaw is going to drop. When GameStop was just in the $150 $200 area, In the money options, you were looking at $10,000 per strike price. And that's, again, gives you the rights to have a 100 shares of GameStop as a coupon, as a right. But if they do some sort of suspension that takes on a week or two or even a month, as the rules that they have established gives them the right to do so. Remember, guys, the NYSE market has the president, a CEO of that, has the ability or the right to suspend a stock for up to a month. So if that happens and you purchase some options and they end in a week or two, you're gonna need a lot of napkins. Can we trust that the Ortex data is accurate? How will we know when all hedges have covered? Thank you. Well, Radwan, at this point, we're kind of at the mercy of the SEC because they said that the transparency regulations will make every hedge fund or every short seller report their short positions within every month. So before I think it was like every quarter. Yeah, it was every quarter. So it was like every 2-3 months. Now it's on a monthly base. They have to report their short holdings in any play. So even though that's a long time, you might ask the question as in like, well, what if it happens in the second week of that month? We still need to wait out 2 weeks. Well, when that regulation completely passes through the transparency for short covering, you're going to have the SEC itself, as they said, they're going to even work on it better. But in the meantime, no one at that time is going to be doing any sorts of manipulation with these datas and stuff like that, because everyone knows at this point that the algorithms cannot do anything anymore. That's it. It's squeeze time when we get to that point. So no one's going to want to touch something like that in that sense and play with it or lie about the data that they're reporting, because the banks at that point will be sending, like they would have already sent a lot of margin calls. A lot of people are margined. No one can lie about what they're reporting because the bank is the ultimate person who loaned them this. You see what I'm saying? So they opened up these positions and they can't just report as they want, because if it comes out later that they lied about it, then you're talking about major federal time and issues. And one thing I do know about wealthy individuals is they value their freedom more than anything. So the one thing they can't see themselves doing, they'll pay whatever price to make sure they don't do no time. Danette said, telling people to sell shares to buy options sounds like a trap. Who set the price for option? Market maker, right, AB? Yeah. So the market maker sets the price for the option, but in the same time, it's also all the Greeks that go into it. All the Greeks that go into it, that makes a big difference as the volatility is going up. As the volatility is going up, it's kind of like an equation. What's up, Frankie Mohammed? Looks like he retracted his message. So yeah. So the how are you doing, brother? Great video you had today earlier. It was great word and great message. So yeah, so like all those things go into that equation, and it makes a big difference. As the volatility is really high, depending on how high it is, the price of the option also shoots through the roof. So you guys have to know when people are saying these things out there, they're trying to sound smart, but they have never done it before. That whoever puts that out there, I know for a fact they have never done this before. They just seen how it worked, and they thought about it, visualized it, and then they thought it was a great idea, and therefore they put it out there to you. And it's beyond imagination. That's like, that they're putting out these things and it's getting traction. That's what's killing me. It's that it's getting traction. We got Radwan saying salams. Well, walaikum salam, brother. To you and to Frankie. Um, I'm still looking here. By the way, guys, again, please like the video so we can push it out to more and more people to join the live. AMC is looking like it's beginning to move, like we said, between that 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock time frame. It's beginning to move. It's about 1% and almost 2% up. But again, we need a whole lot bigger move than that to verify the run up. Let me check this actually. I've, I've, I've been caught up in this and this talk that I didn't check something. Let's check the repo and reverse repo operations for today. This is something, if you're a daily trader, guys, remember, it's not the most important thing, but it's a huge, huge part of your day trade. So, so you have to always look at these things if you're thinking about becoming a day trader in the future. Ah, so it looks like it's going up. Yesterday, it went up about 20 something billion dollars from yesterday. It's 1,763,000,000,000. Yesterday, I think it was 1,742,000,000,000. So you have about 2021 billion dollars increase in that, which means someone's got the money they needed to make sure that they, you know, continue their crime, or the money they needed to cover. It works both ways, not just one way. Let's see. What else is moving here? Uh, we got, yeah, not much. It's kind of like a very, very, very stale market right now as we looking at it in the after hours. Oh, Danette, tell us the story of why I moved to the US if you are up for it. So, okay, I am definitely up for it. I wanted to share it on a big, 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 bigger platform, but this is big enough for me, guys. And I'm humbled to say this. Remember, this story will definitely make you believe movies from now on. You might look at Hollywood movies or Bollywood movies, even in this case, and start saying that this might be true. Okay, so when I was a kid, guys, in Jordan, uh, and I hope I don't, bore anybody else with this, but again, this is a very, 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 very interesting story. So when I was a kid in Jordan, back in 1996, my parents came here to the US for the first time, and I had an uncle who lived here in Brooklyn, New York, which is part of the family I was telling you about yesterday in the bbig rumor. And New York and America was just like amazing. And for me, I was going to that park to every day, look at the World Trade Center at that time. And I'm like, one day I'm gonna work there. One day I'm gonna work there as a kid. You know, one day I was only like 6 years old at the time or 7 years old. One day I'm gonna work there. Like, it's just so magnificent how high this is, and the fact that there's this skyscraper, and then at the time it was the tallest buildings in the globe. So we went back to Jordan. We stayed here for about a year. It was just me, my mom, and my dad. And my at that time, my mom was pregnant, and we had our they had their second, their fourth child. I live in a family of 6 kids. So we went back to Jordan after that. Schools were going on. My other younger siblings were there. So obviously my grandma, and all that stuff. So we went back. My dad was a Supreme Court judge in Jordan at that time. Now, if you know Jordan's judicial system, they do it, it's in a way similar to the French monarchy system. And on that judge stand, instead of a jury, where here we have a jury, there in Jordan, they have 3 judges. And those 3 judges are like, there's the middle, the right, and the left. And those guys operate as the jury and everything else, and the lawmakers and all that stuff. So my dad was one of those guys. And there was a huge case that happened, and this is where the fireworks starts happening. um, you guys remember at that time, and again, I don't know if I have to say anything about like in prior to saying this, but to make sure it doesn't kill the channel. But at that time there was a lot of this whole Al Qaeda and all that stuff happening. And what happened was the Bin Laden's right hand man, his name was Az-Zarqawi. You guys feel free to look him up on Google if you want. Then you would know, what I'm saying, verify what I'm saying. So his name was Al-Zarqawi, and that guy was the second most wanted guy by the FBI at that time by for the U.S. and globally. He was Bin Laden's right hand man. And what was happening is there was a special operation happening between the U.S. CIA and the Jordanian special intelligence to and apparently Jordan has the fourth or the fifth best, even though it's a very small country, it has the fifth best or sixth best intelligence in the world. How, I don't know, but apparently it's that good. And they captured this guy. Okay, they captured him, I think, on the borders of Iraq and Jordan, and they brought him in for the hearing. So while that was happening, some people started approaching my dad, like our house. And that's the crazy part about it, is that when they approached us, they would come and try to bring in like a lot of gifts, a lot of things, and all that kind of stuff. My dad was like, okay, maybe it's regular people from the culture there is very hospitable and very welcoming. So that's how it is. You just got to go there to see how it's like when people out of nowhere just come to you and then they present you gifts and say, we know who you are, what your social standing. My dad's cousin was the previous prime minister in Jordan. His name was Ma'ruf al-Bakhit. I don't expect you guys to know how that is spelled or anything, but he was the previous prime minister of Jordan as well, on a few occasions, not only once. So anyways, so they were coming. My dad is thinking they're coming to, congratulate him on his standing, what his position is, his political influence, and all that stuff. But then one day, those people started telling him like, "Hey, you have this such and such case, and we need you to, you know, kind of bend it over." And what my dad was like, so what do you mean, do you want me to do? They were like, we want you to, like, you don't have to say he's innocent or none of that, just say there's not enough evidence to incriminate this individual, which will give him more time to postpone the case. So apparently, I guess they had some sort of idea on what they could do next to try to get him to escape. Obviously my dad refused. Then they started bringing in crazy like proposals and all that, and my dad kept refusing. I remember one time they came in with like a bunch of keys saying these are all homes and cars for you wherever you want in this country or outside the country, just choose. My dad kept refusing. Next thing you know, we get one day I wake up to go to school in the morning. There's buses, the yellow bus comes in the morning to pick us up and all that stuff. And I wake up and I open the door and I see one thing, and hopefully it doesn't, kill the channel at this point. But I see a goat's head stuck to the door with a knife. And over there, when you see that stuff, like what that means is that that's what's going to happen to you. We're going to cut your kids' heads off and all that stuff. So when it got to that point, that's when my dad obviously completely went berserk. I come from a very, very, very influential family line. It's called Abadi, and we're very, very known in the Jordanians, like in the country. It's just a lot of us with that last name, similar to like the Johnsons. When you say Johnson here in the U.S., there's a lot of Johnsons. So obviously my dad started taking his precautions. Army started, putting in protections and all that stuff. But then my dad was like, okay, these protections and the family will protect us for now, but eventually in the future, if this continues, like I need the safety of my kids. And that's when my dad, basically made that one decision to single-handedly bring us over with my mom, obviously, over here to the US. He finished his job there, and then, the guy ended up escaping, believe it or not. Somehow he ended up escaping prison. they did some sort of some terroristic op on it, and then got him to escape the prison. He escaped all the way to Iraq, and later on, that's when the U.S. intelligence knew what building he was in, and they bombed it, and they killed him in that whole thing. So it's not like he escaped for a long time. It was crazy. It was crazy. Um, Again, his name was Al Zarqawi. Um, it was crazy time, and because of Al Zarqawi, AB is in the U.S. That was the story for that. Hopefully, it didn't bore most of you guys. Hopefully, you guys don't think it's like, whatever. But that was the truth on how I made it to the U.S. And then many things happened even after. I mean, in the U.S. I mean, I have another story, and this is absolutely. I only say it to a few people. This story, I will not say it today, but this is the most crazy story that I have ever had. Like, you would probably ever hear from someone, according to circumstances or according to luck. Like, it was sheer, not like craziest story ever, for sure. The second one. So I will tell you guys maybe at a different live, for sure, because it needs a lot of understanding, and perhaps people to know. Like, I just went through so much, guys, and then, just like I said, that story was it happened. I'm not going to say the story, but it happened in my 8th grade year, when I was graduating from 8th grade here in the US. um and I was basically, my English was very limited at the time, completely limited, very, very, very scarce. And when I tell you guys that story, first, you're gonna be uptight. I guarantee you that's how you're gonna feel. First, you're gonna be uptight, and then at some point, you're gonna be laughing your ass off like crazy because of because of what ends up happening. Um, let's see. Um, Ridwan said Ronaldinho plus Brazilian Ronaldo, better than Messi and CR7. How would you rank them? I'll get right back to that, Ridwan. That's an ever never ending question. Um, Thank you, Danette. I'm glad that you gave me enough courage to actually, tell that story. Um, Frankie, I did go back home. It was like about once or yeah, I went back once ever since then. Um, my home is the U.S. I grew up here. I've spent more of my life in the U.S. than in Jordan. It is my heritage still, so I love it. But when I went back to Jordan, trust me, I was able to stay for about 3 weeks, and I was back here right away. It's because of life. One thing that most people don't know is life is very universal now. Like, the US way of life, like the American way of life, is very universal. So odds are any city you go to on this planet is going to be very modernized. So, like in Jordan, we have the capital is Amman. And Amman, if you walk into it, you would think that you're walking in New York, or you would think you're walking in Chicago, or an American neighborhood. Literally, not like you're in a different country. That's just how it is. Everything is in English. Everybody speaks English. Everybody's listening to hip hop or whatever the new hit list is, the new music. Um, it's more than what people think. And the crazy part is that a lot of movies portray the Middle East as like a war zone or whatnot. I mean, I know the story that I just said kind of represents stuff like that, but it's the safest place in the world. I mean, had it been of my dad's position, which could happen anywhere, it could happen here. And the case that he had of a great interest globally, um, we would never have to worry about any of that. Nobody closes their doors at home at night or any of that, because nobody has to think about that. I mean, when a situation happens, like when a major robbery or some sort of fatal um, shooting happens, it doesn't get covered only on a city level or on a news channel level. It goes nationally. The whole country hears about it, because it's so rare for things like that to happen, because culture runs the country there more than the laws. You know what I'm saying? So like people abide with good doings, a mixture of, and the beautiful thing about Jordan is it's a mixture of Christian and Muslims. We live in perfect harmony. I mean, I went to a Catholic school. Even though I'm Muslim, I went to an all Catholic school, and there was no such thing as, you have to look at this or don't look at that. Uh, so I remember the city that I lived in, it's a city slash village I lived in. It was amazing. We celebrated all holidays. We celebrated because part of being religious, doesn't matter what religion you have, is to have great respect for other religions and know that they're all coming almost from the same source. So it was amazing to always celebrate Easter as a kid. We have a huge, huge, huge ranch and a house there that I dearly miss, of course, that had fig trees, grapevines all over the place, olive trees. We've never paid for grapes or olive oil or olives, fresh everything, figs, whatever you want to think of, pomegranates. It was amazing big ranch. So yeah, so like in there, oh my God, that gives me back memories now. So living in that and being able to, like, my mom's friends, my dad's friends, they would be like, either whether they're Christian or Muslim, we're all the same. When they celebrate Christmas, we celebrate with them. Everything in the towns will be decorated and we'll see Santa Claus. When there's an Islamic holiday, they will all wish us well and congratulate us and enjoy it with us as well. It's not what the media portrays it to be. I swear to you, like, I take it from me. Now there are, of course, wars. There's war zones, but that's not everywhere. Um, War zone is a war zone. Yeah, whatever you see happened in the capitals of, whether in Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan. Those things obviously were happening, but only in certain parts. That does not take away the culture that is in place. Um, and the culture there, trust me, guys, it is much safer to live there than to live here, because here people die for anything. I've seen people myself when I was here in high school growing up. I've seen a guy in front of the main library in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was waiting on the bus to go home, and I seen a guy shoot and kill a guy with like so many gunshots, literally just for the pendant that that person had on his collar. He thought it was golden, it shined, and they shot him and killed him for that. That stuff, you don't see that happening over there. Just putting it that way, and it's a great place more than what the media portrays it to be. Besides that, you know, everything else there is now becoming like here. It's like the US. Everybody's influenced by what's happening here. That's why you always see people wanting to come to the US so bad, because they feel like that this is the source of life. Some people think that money really does grow on trees here. In reality, it doesn't. But there's much more opportunity here than anywhere else on the planet, like there, at least. There you have smart, very brilliant individuals who are like beyond imaginationally smart. And this is not just in Jordan. Like, I know it happens in other countries in the world, but very, very like intelligent. And unfortunately, they cannot get a job after they graduate college because they just didn't. There's so many, and there's little opportunity for just a few. So they even battle it out in between each other. Where if they were to come here, they can literally, with their excellence, they can become. And you've seen this a lot, guys. Many scholars come from overseas and end up doing their papers and their PhD and their theses and everything coming here. So they end up residing here in the US and do it here because the US will provide them with funding and they will take care of all that stuff. And then eventually the invention is here, not somewhere else. But the scientist is from somewhere else. And this is what makes this country so great, guys, is that it's a big melting pot of so many people. Hopefully that didn't kill everybody. Danette, of course, many people recognize me and my dad. Just our family alone. I mean, there's about, if I'm not mistaken, there's anywhere between 200 to 400,000 bodies, which is my last name. It's a huge family. a little fun thought is that my dad on a monthly base has to pay 150 dollars, 100, yeah, 100, almost $100 to the Abadi's Guild, if that makes any sense. And what that is, and what is that for is, since we have that last name, my dad has to pay almost $40 on each monthly on each son that he has, so that in case in the future, for example, let's say AB was to part life, that's it. His family did not have enough money to cover his funeral. Since I have a last name called Abadi, they will do the funeral in the family's guild, the big hall. It's like a big town hall for the Abadi's last name. And from that, they will eventually, after, holding the funeral services there, they will also pay for whatever it is, because I count as one of them. And that way we all can take care of the whole family line, whether we know each other or not, because everybody has different situations. So if there is some sort of big invitation to the king of Jordan, which I've met before, him and the queen, Queen Rania, very, very, very intelligent king, by the way, and very, very, very beautiful queen, that's for sure. She came here to the View and to join Oprah many times in the past, and she speaks for women equality and women justice. So I am a huge fan, and many of the citizens are a huge fan as well. So yeah, so like in case any of those individuals were to come over, due to the fact that one of us was also the prime minister, and many other individuals are in high positions in the, whether in the army or the central intelligence there, or high positions or companies, they all can at any given time, since they hold the same last name, they can all invite a major uh, individual or character, and at that point it will be held in those services in that town hall for their bodies. And the way they can keep doing maintenance for that town hall, and keep the coffee that is there at all times running and nothing stopping, and the lights moving, and making it look like, not something that's ghetto. That's why every individual has to pay a monthly thing. So yes, it's for the greater good for the family within the country. It's a crazy setup, isn't it? Redwan, thank you for hearing my story. And yes, my dad is definitely a brave man. He did have his I mentioned yesterday in the live that when we were leaving Jordan, like right before we left, he did a heart valve replacement. And every 10 to 12 years, I think they you start going down, in since it's synthetic. I think they used either a monkey's vein or something. I think that's what they use. They can't just go get some other human's artery. But I don't know. Again, it's all over the place. I was a kid when that happened, but they got the he did that surgery, and then afterwards, when we came here, he had some complications as I was in high school. I mentioned in the live yesterday, and then he couldn't even do anything at all. He couldn't even go. I mean, the amazingness of that man is the fact that when he was a Supreme Court judge in one area, when we moved here, all those accolades went away. And it was big time for me to see my dad go work in corner stores and all that stuff, just to make sure that we, excuse me, guys, for a second. I'm sorry, guys. Uh, just to make sure that that we were able to feel like other kids around, around the country and in this world. So big, big hats off to him. And then my mom, like, I can't even begin to say what she have done. But then after that, it was time for me to start stepping up to the plate, when I was a sophomore in high school, and had to step in and, do what my dad, or at least try to do half of what my dad was able to do. Sorry again, guys. I know this is supposed to be about stocks and everything, and I'm over here doing this. Um, Queen Rania of Jordan. Oh my God, I saw that episode. Yeah, she's amazing. Um, the King's Car collection is known in the car community very well. Yeah, he is, and he also loves riding motorcycles. He's a motorcycle rider. So let's see. So, still nothing crazy of like no crazy movements happening here and there. Um, yeah, very stale. Thanks for the love, Danette. No, it's not your fault. This was meant to be. I'm not hurt, when this has happened. This is just me reminiscing on those days and moments. And remember, I'm a different individual, I would like to say, than most individuals, and everybody is different. But I will say this, that I have happened to, due to these things that happened throughout my life, whether as a kid or as a grown adult, I changed the way I think and the way I tackle things. As in, if things happen to me, I always utilize it as, whether it's negative or positive, I utilize it as motivation. So instead of me using it as weight to throw on my back or on my chest to hold me down, I utilize it as motivation to draw me more. So when someone is talking, or let's say, like, I don't even want to talk about basketball or sports or anything, but if I get screwed on something, I only utilize it. Instead of kicking myself down or beating myself, take it and say, you know what, I'm gonna now I have more reason to prove why this is wrong, and I want to do it, and I'm gonna do it again. So I utilize it as motivation. So yeah, no, nothing wrong at all. It was needed, and it's all part of what was designed to happen today. I do believe in faith. Yeah, let's get back to the market. My greatest hope in these investments is just to give my parents a break. So I definitely respect your story. Thank you, Pablo Loco. I appreciate you so much. And I surely hope and pray that you do meet your goal, and you get to do it. And I'm almost very certain that you will. All right, guys. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to go and get some lunch. I have not eaten today. Yeah, Bruno, right? You like talking, like you're saying, like, oh, this is dinner. No, am I sleeping? My eating? Everything's been screwed up. So I'm gonna go and do that stuff. Remember again what we talked about. If we see a major hike or some sort of crazy move anywhere between the 6 and the 8 o'clock time frame, on the market or on our plays, then that's something that we're looking forward to. Um, if we don't see that, then obviously we're going to look for that in the pre-market tomorrow. That is going to be our gauge to know if this is the squeeze beginning or not. Because we no one loves a letdown, obviously, and no one wants to hype a letdown. If that makes any sense, you don't want it to be a letdown, and you're hyping it up right now, you're thinking that it is the squeeze, and then bring yourself down and others with you later when it comes to fruition that it's not. It was nothing but a market maker move to try to draw people in, to get them excited, to let them dump in, and get more money out of them, whether it's through option plays or through shares. So we're not gonna do any of that. We're gonna stay idle. The movement today was amazing. We expected it, remember, from last week, even not just yesterday. But if this is the squeeze, we're gonna look for another powerful, even more powerful than today, run up tomorrow or the day after at the most. Otherwise, you will start seeing a reset in price values, and you would know that it's probably someone who just wanted to catch us in the net like some fish, and then do what they gotta do best. So let's look forward to that. Let's see. If this happens, please write something on my page, whether on the comment on the any of the videos or any of that stuff. I appreciate all of you for being here and hearing the live and hearing my story of coming to the US. So it's a great honor, obviously, to say it. I never thought ever in my life I would be able to say it on a open platform like this, but why not? I have much respect and love for all of you guys. You guys are literally like family to me, and once you're family, like family, you're always gonna be family. So much love. AB Investments. Write what you want to, what you think on, or in case anything happens in the market, on the comment section. Who knows? Maybe I might come back later on tonight.